Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Porch Radio. So excited to have you here and joining me. Today, I have a really awesome guest, my personal trainer, and an awesome business veteran and business owner who owns Spokane Barbell Club, Nick DeBusk.
That's me. I am Nick DeBusk at fitnessfood.fun on Instagram or at Spokane BBC if you'd like to connect with me or come in and try the gym out. We'd love to have you.
It's been an amazing experience. He knows exactly what he's doing and has been working amazingly to get me in shape in the way that I desire. So it's definitely not his agenda, it's mine, and I think that's what makes him such a great trainer.
Yes, I bend to people's will. That's the perfect part about
it brings
trainer.
Success, so bend away.
Yeah, I think we have a lot of fun in here. Our training is a little bit different. I mean, I totally understand when people come in and things are a little bit new, so I'm very appreciative of anyone who has the courage to come into a new space, especially someone's garage, that kind of looks like this.
Not seedy at all.
Yeah. and try hard. So yeah, it's been kind of a mind-blowing experience having so many people come in here and work out and feel satisfied and reach new goals and want to shoot for more. So yeah.
Well, good job. Keep doing it.
Thank you.
So today, Nick and I wanted to talk about relationships and the roles that we play in relationships and what those look like in your personal life and to potential partners and what is healthy for everyone. Because I feel like relationships are specific to individuals and what is appropriate and right for them. And I also feel like relationships can be products of what we're raised with. So I feel like it's really important to question, is that authentic to me, or is this a belief that I was raised upon and therefore just perpetuating that relationship style?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think me personally in my life right now, I am in a relationship transition. So I've had the opportunity to talk to lots of people about what they think a relationship is, how relationships form, the length of time that people are expecting a relationship to continue on for. There's just so many different facets that, as a person in my situation who was previously married for nearly 15 years, it's an eye-opening experience. So something super relevant in my life right now, so that's why I would love to talk more about it and get more insight as to what other people think relationships are or what they entail or whose role is whose.
Mm-hmm. Nick and I have had this long-standing conversation about relationships since we met, and I treasure it because I think that it's important for all of us to make further clarification as to what is healthy for us, and that's an ongoing thing, something that takes a lot of time and a lot of energy, and you have to really look at the things that are relevant to your life and what's important and how you feel, and look at the way that perhaps you handled things in the past. Is that still relevant? Is that authentic to me now? Do I still want to be that person? Am I proud of that person, or do I want to change that? So we've had this ongoing conversation for some time, and I just adore it. One of the things that we talk about a lot is monogamy and how important and relevant monogamy is in the society we live in and in our individual lives. We don't have to go into that subject now, but what roles those play, in your life, and how much of yourself are you willing to give in a relationship? And I feel like for me, that's where monogamy plays a role. I have so much going on in my life, business, kids, all these things that I want to accomplish, and now it's my time to accomplish them. So how much of my time and energy am I willing to give to a relationship or relationships? And I like to live on the concept of you can have your cake and eat it too. So, and living in a non-monogamous way offers me the ability to do that, to have deep, lasting connection and relationship, one that has no ownership, no expectation, there's never that feeling that you're going to be in trouble or like you did something wrong. So you get to own who you are more, and there's less of that like, oh my God, I need you. You don't have to be here for me. It's more of like, no, let's share this together, and then I'm going to do my life, And so that for me has been really freeing in a non-monogamous world. What do you think something that's really been striking you in this dating world now that you've been out and kind of non-monogamous?
Yeah, and I would say that not only have I learned a lot, but I think I've learned a lot about myself and who taught me what. Like, where do these ideas of monogamy is good, where do these ideas of what a relationship is come from, and how were they kind of backed up and reiterated throughout my life? And I think you touched on a good point about the ownership portion, which is something that I struggle with, but also a lot of male friends that I have that are either seeking relationships or are in relationships. They talk about in various and sundry degrees that this is important to them, an ownership type of relationship where the partner is, I don't even know how you describe that.
Like, she is mine. That's
Right.
my
This
woman.
is my person or my thing, and specifically that is exactly what I used to say to my partner was, "You're my person." And I can really identify with, because this is how I was raised, a little bit more conservative. I can really identify with wanting something to be yours and making that thing special, and that's a good thing. I think how my father kind of taught me about treating women is you don't do it because they're lesser. You hold the door open, or you pay for things, or you do these chivalrous things because those are nice and those make someone feel special. So I think, getting back to the relationship stuff and the ownership portion, if men have avenues to talk about things and kind of bounce these ideas of relationships off of someone else that can give them a different perspective in a respectful way, I think that we would move forward on this more frequently, and I wouldn't run into so many guys where the most important thing in the relationship is that the woman remains loyal and does what she's supposed to do in that relationship to satisfy that piece of it. But yeah, I don't know if
One of the first things that when I went to school, when I started to come into this non-monogamous world, it's always business. It's totally fine. We're entrepreneurs. It's totally fine. When I started to come into this world of like living in a non-monogamous, concept and idea, I quickly related back to a class where we learned about the 5 needs, and they are love, touch, sex, intimacy, and friendship. In society today, in monogamous society today, we are taught that all of those 5 needs are, if you're my man, then you have to satisfy all of those 5 needs for me. How unrealistic is that? All that's creating is this feeling of being unsatisfied, both from the receiver of those needs and the giver of those needs. Like, I'm never going to feel like I'm satisfying my partner, nor am I ever going to feel received. So the awesome thing about those was, okay, so if touch is one of the 5 needs, then sitting here and holding a 20-second hug with you because it's stressful is releasing endorphins in you. That is touch, and there's nothing wrong or negative or unloyal or misleading about that. And that can be for any of those categories. Intimacy, sharing something private and something that makes you feel vulnerable is a form of intimacy. It doesn't mean that we're engaging in sexual act. But then also in the same note, sex is one of those needs too, in a way that, if I just want to have sex, then I can have sex. So it's a matter of understanding, what is it that I'm needing right now? Am I needing just one of those needs, or am I, and which one am I needing, and what avenues can I get it from outside of my partnership? Because I know that this person is not the end-all be-all, and I can get those things filled from all of these other members of my tribe that are important to me also, without any of those ill will feelings. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that's something that I really love, and it actually helped me kind of get into this non-monogamous lifestyle of like, okay, I have all these different needs. How then could I put them into one person and still live a happy, healthy life?
Right.
Yeah.
And I think for me specifically, coming from the way I was raised, and you kind of touched on a little bit about the sex portion. So when I think about monogamous relationships, one of the key aspects is you're only having sex with that one person. So the way I was taught by my mom and dad was, this is a safety. This is for your own protection, so you don't transmit sexually transmitted diseases or what have you. And I carried that through, into my adult years. And I think it's a good rule of thumb maybe to consider. But as adults, and as I've spoken to more and more adults, there are relationships that you can have that are very, very beneficial to both people. And if just a certain level of safety and respect and understanding
Communication.
communication between two partners happens prior to the sex, then my whole world was open to the fact that there are responsible adults, responsible people in this world. Not everyone is just out there wanting to one night stand. Not everyone is just out there wanting to tender up with people all the time. There's lots of different people out there wanting lots of different things. So having those different sexual relationships with people of different degrees is beneficial. And as long as you're being safe and true to yourself, and the things that you're doing make you feel good, for the long term, then I think that you should be free and open to explore those types of things. And that's something that I don't think that I had the ability to early in life, because of the way we're taught, and the way that it wasn't so much religion, it was just like a parenting technique of trying to keep you safe.
But there is that too, I noticed. Like there's that, okay, this is, it's unhealthy and you got to protect yourself, and then like totally, obviously, like this is your temple. Protect and make sure that you're not inviting bad things into your temple. But also there's like that sacredness part that a lot of that our parents' generation put into us, of like marriage is, sex is sacred, and it's the act of marriage and all of this. And I agree. The act of sex, I'm a Scorpio, so the act of sex is a very sacred thing. But at the same time, that doesn't mean that if I fill my needs sexually with this person that it's dirty or wrong or anything besides what I want it to be. So there is a difference for that. Like, there's that negative stigma of like, oh, well, you're dirty, blah, blah. And it's, it's not to say that people who are non-monogamous go out and have sex all the time. It's, it's a quality over quantity is what it's come down, at least in my life. I'd rather spend my time with people who challenge me, motivate me, push me to be better than myself, allow me to be authentically me without having to hide that, without feeling ashamed for that, and I make a lot of weird faces and I say a lot of weird shit. So that is really important to me. Whether that gets to a sexual place or not really makes no difference to me. It's the quality of that companionship. And once you have that, I feel like then you can open the door for what is appropriate sexually to then engage with that person. And that's a mutual thing, You can have sex with them every day of the week and be completely satisfied and never want anything more. Or you can have sex 3 times in a month and be completely satisfied and want nothing more. It's really, what is your priority? What do you seek in relationships? That's probably been the biggest thing for me. As I continue this dating pool, right, and like meeting all these people, synchronistically, I'm meeting who I'm calling for, which is dope as fuck. I'm manifesting all these people and attributes and values that I hold dear, which is great. But at the same time, while manifesting that, I'm like looking and seeing, okay, how does this really apply to my life? And then how far do I want to take it, right? So realizing that it's my choice to say yes or no, which I feel like for women, a lot of the times is a difficult thing. We'll get called a tease or this or that because we'll be having fun to a certain degree, and then that's enough. And then all of a sudden, we feel obligated to go further when we don't necessarily want to. In this reality that I live in, I never feel the pressure to go farther than what I want, because the quality of relationships that I'm gathering never put me in a place where I feel that way. And that's more than just non-monogamy or monogamy. Really, that comes down to self-awareness and ownership of self, and that's another topic. But I feel like being non-monogamous has led me to learn who I am and what kind of partnership I really, A, want down the road, but B, more importantly now, what I can handle right now. What is healthy for me right now, while still being healthy for the other person involved. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I think something that has jumped out at me over the last couple months as I entered into the dating world is how important communication is.
Oh, God.
And just speaking from errors recently, it's being brave, and like what you were talking about, having enough in you to, say something instead of just allowing something to go, is important. And I think, when you're developing your communication skills with random people, strangers, it's really important for you to know yourself and, like you were saying, like what you like or what you don't like, and not only be open to changing those things, but having the communication skills to deliver that information to someone. Or learn them. Yeah, and so, yeah, I think that's just one of the biggest things that I've picked up on is you really need to listen to what people have to say, look at people's faces when they're talking, and try not to formulate these stories of yourself that are so packaged and compartmentalized. Just try and be honest with people, and that's not trying to be, a Hallmark card. You're trying to be honest with yourself first. And when you tell a story about yourself or you describe yourself, you need to make sure that you've thought about that and you describe that honestly to that person. So yeah.
I feel like another hiccup too in the communication aspect is having expectations. We meet this great guy or this great girl, and we like go on these, say you went on a series of great dates, and then you're like, oh, then you end up having sex, right? Automatically we associate sex and we put expectations on it. Well, we had sex, so therefore we are this and this and this. And for me, this sounds egotistical, but for me, in my journey of that, it's gone one of two ways. They either drive me crazy because they now think that they have ownership of me and I belong to them, and so I need to spend every waking moment and opportunity investing in them, or which is overwhelming, and then I run. Or it's the complete opposite of that. It's like I'm being my authentic self, and then they can't handle it, so then they run, which is totally fine. Like, we all have to meet each other at the same time.
Yeah.
But expectations come into play of like, oh, we did this, so now we must be this. But if you don't have that communication open, expectations are the devil. For me, they're like the devil. Devil's not good, bad, or right or wrong, but in my world, expectations are the devil, and I choose to have as little of them as possible, because if I have the expectation that this is going to work out or not work out, and then I'm manifesting for that to actually happen, right? If you and I were dating and then we had sex, right? And then I have this expectation in my mind that, oh, now you're my boyfriend. And then I'm questioning, well, is he my boyfriend? Like, there's this whole miscommunication thing happening, and I could be manifesting that now this great relationship that I really wasn't, like, it could crumble.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? Instead of just letting things happen and manifest all by themselves without the expectation. So many times I find that if I am thinking, actively concerned about something, that I'm like, oh, I'm going to fuck this up. I'm totally going to screw this relationship up. I do.
Yeah.
I'm manifesting it to happen. Instead of going, you know what? Yes, in the past, that's how it worked out. But you know what? I'm not going to fucking think about that this time, because I have no clue if that's going to work out. And I'm just going to enjoy it while it rides.
Yeah.
I'm just going to ride it.
Yeah.
And I've found that if I can do that without the expectations, I am blown away. 9 times out of 10, I am just mind blown of how completely different, in a good way, it went without the expectation of it. So
Yeah, I think sexual communication is important too, and something that I've had to overcome is basically every single person that I've gone out with has the assumption that there's some sort of sexual expectation at the end of that date or the second date or something like that. So that's another, and I don't know if this is specific male or female, but from my perspective, it seems to be that it's an expectation of guys to want to chase that down and really aggressively pursue that. So, I mean, 2 things. Number 1, understand that those labels are just killers. Comparison is the killer of joy. I have written on the board inside from Theodore Roosevelt. Yeah. And I think it's something to keep in mind, that comparing yourself on any level is going to put you in a negative space and not very appreciative of where you are. And the sexual communication comes with time with this person, right? With learning this person, with making mistakes and being forgiven and having a compassionate and free flow of information. And that only comes with time. It only comes with spending time with someone and learning them.
Right, because I find that the first 3 acts of sexual encounter with a new person are awkward as fuck. So why are we putting all of this weight on this like newly found thing? We're just learning each other. It takes time to learn each other, you know. And so yeah, I don't like having the pressure of sex, but I do feel like you're very valid in that women, it's not that we expect to have sex, it's that we expect you to want to be expecting sex. And so therefore it feels more like a task that we have to perform than something that we genuinely want to do half the time. That was the way it was for me until recently. Like just coming to the place of understanding that's where that was coming from helped me release that. So now I don't feel like I owe anybody anything, but that takes time, you know? But that stigma is not okay, and I feel like it needs to change. However, the majority of men relate to women that way. Therefore, we are putting that blanket expectation on all men because the majority have taught us we should. You know?
Yeah.
So that's difficult.
Yeah, and I think society, no matter how strong-willed you are, society is going to bend you to a little bit of how society wants you to be. And males have roles in our society, and these things are pushed on them, same as females. And I think that this communication piece of it, where I am going to be somewhat tainted because I'm in society and I'm a normal person, so I'm going to have somewhat skewed views that may not be the best for both of us in a male-female relationship. So I think that, you know, what I was saying before about the communication part, focusing on, you know, trying to be honest with yourself and communicating with a partner or a maybe partner is something that's just so beneficial, because yes, the relationship could benefit from that, but you as a person are going to benefit from every encounter that you have, whether it's sexual or not, whether it lasts for years or not. And if you're not open to those experiences and that information, then so much is going to pass you by. And I think getting back to the, like how I was raised, conservative portion of it, I love marriage. I think marriage is, the institution of marriage is fantastic. However, now that I've spoken to many, many people that have had many, many different types of relationships, I believe that human connection is a little bit far and beyond what I was taught that the institution of marriage was. And if you start thinking about companionship as that, instead of this institution that was developed,
this end all be all,
right, this religious thing, then I think the whole gay, straight, lesbian thing just kind of goes out the window, because it's somewhat irrelevant as to who your companion is.
Or how many of them satisfy your needs.
Exactly. How many different companions do you need to satisfy you as a person, and at what stage in your life? I remember when I was a kid learning about, what was it? The men who had like 15 different wives.
Oh, like polygamy.
Yeah, polygamy. And it was about a certain religion, and in my mind as a child, it's like that's how they were raised. They had that's how many girlfriends they had, and then moving forward, when they're an old man, that's how many wives they'll have. And so in my head as a child, you just kind of push things out forever. You simplify all this stuff, and you don't really account for chapters in your life, stages that you go through, transitions that happen in your life that change you into a different type of person that may need and require a different companion.
Right? Because everything's temporary. Everything only lasts for a certain amount of time, no matter what it is. So if you're not present in the moment, how do you take all of the joy and the lessons out of that temporary situation and really revel in it and make real-time change, like real-time change, you know? Recently, in my own life, my personal life, non-monogamous relationships going on, right? And, I'm very forthright. I'm very forthcoming with my relationships. I have nothing to hide, and I found myself comparing. I wonder why that type of sexual activity would be more appropriate with this person than me. And I was sitting there thinking about this stuff going, well, why the fuck does it matter? Does that change how relevant you are to this person? Does it change how impactful you are to anybody else in your life? Like, what does that have to do with it? So every time, as you notice these things come up, especially in non-monogamous relationships, they come up, and they come up a lot.
Yeah.
And it's a huge tool for growing through the stuff that's no longer serving you. Those limiting beliefs that we were taught as a kid, the stuff that you think you're not good enough here, you're not worthy there. It is a really great way to like really learn about who you are and what parts of you are not acceptable for you anymore. Like I refuse to compare myself to somebody I don't know, or lower myself to a standard that I must not be as important because of this. I'm sorry, but that does not take away my importance to anyone, let alone myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there's a lot of that you'll get shoved with. It'll just like gets thrown right in your face. And sometimes it's harder to deal with than others, but if you can be aware of them and realize that they're happening in real time, it makes it a lot easier to grow and then connect deeper.
Yeah.
Tangent note. Yeah, I think that's good for today.
Yeah.
I want to do this with you again. I think this would be great.
That worked good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks for joining us,
Yes,
Porch
thank
Light
you very
Radio.
much.
Please come and check us out again. As always, love and light, and I really appreciate all of your support, including this guy who's making these super killer arms. So check him out, Spokane Barbell Club, 5 a.m., 6 a.m., and 1 p.m. See you there.
See you there.
Love
Bye.
and light. Good job.